Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt, faith.
Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
WESN.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. Before we even start this repatriation and reintegration process that we've already failed, or are we doomed to fail?
You've got to invest in the institutions that you've established to carry out those sorts of core functions.
We now get into the regional updates to give you an understanding of what's happening across our neighboring islands.
We have available a number of films that are worth showing.
So it was day one when the French Revolution started to develop the concept of universal human rights.
What happened this time is unprecedented. It's one of the largest terrorist attacks in history.
Let's welcome Carl to the program. Carl is over there next to himself. Hello, Carl.
Silky anteater or pygmy anteater, and we have two of the three species of anteaters right here.
WESN.
Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for being with us. The start of a new day and a new week. Trinidad and Tobago may be a good one, may be a safe one, may be a productive one. And I can't stress on it being a safe one. The news emanating from last week. Last week was quite a dark, depressing week for TNT. All over the world, actually, but domestically, the news was frightening. It's scary. Even the news of what we're learning happening across the weekend. We certainly will get into those stories a bit later on. But as I said, throughout the world last week, I faced so many difficulties, so many tragedies, one of which actually was Hurricane Milton, which was incredible, by the way. If you were following that storm, if you were tracking that storm and its development from tropical storm into a hurricane, its path was it intrigued everyone. Its path, how it was able to swing last minute. I wonder what map or what directions Hurricane Milton was using. But when all is said and done, the destruction it left across Florida in particular was frightening. I was able to follow actually a live tracker and live cameras coming out of Florida during the storm when it made landfall. And now we are learning that at least 23 people have died following Hurricane Milton. And as I mentioned, at least because there's still many missing, rescue operations are still ongoing, and over 2 million people are without power. The situation in Florida, at least what is being described to us, suggests that also there is a fuel shortage and fuel resources have become very scarce. So that in itself is causing a bit of a panic. But I said that's what's being told to us. So I think we need to get a better understanding as we actually speak to someone in the ground on the ground in Florida. I'm joined this morning by Miss Genoa Gibson. She is a resident of Tampa, Florida. Good morning, Miss Gibson. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am doing okay. Not too shouty this morning. Everything is okay on my end.
Excellent. That's good to know. How were you impacted? How did Hurricane Milton impact you, the area of which you are currently residing in?
And ironically, the area I directly live in wasn't super impacted heavily. I live downtown Tampa, so it's a bunch of high rises, a bunch of tall buildings. We do live right next to Tampa General Hospital as well. Not sure if that had any impact into why I wasn't affected deeply, but my entire direct area, my neighborhood, we did not lose power. We didn't suffer any flooding, but not very far outside of my area. Lots of my friends were impacted terribly. Their houses completely destroyed, completely flooded. Lots of my friends are without power. I actually had a friend who just went home yesterday because she just got power at 8 p.m. I waited in line for about 30 minutes for gas. I drove around for about an hour looking for gas to fill up my car. So it's definitely been a stressful week
Has
for
that
sure.
has that situation improved at all? You mentioned that your friend actually only received a power connection, a power supply to their home 8 o'clock last night. Has she
Yeah.
also been able to describe to you the scenes of which she saw on her journey back to her home and even when she arrived home?
Yeah, so I actually helped her get back home. Trees fallen everywhere, business signs completely torn. There's tons of images of a little bit outside Tampa, Florida, where one of our stadiums is completely ripped off, construction cranes knocked down apartment buildings. So it's definitely been um, insane, kind of like assessing the damage when you're not directly impacted.
What are authorities saying in respect to the damage when they are giving an assessment of the damage? Though their first priority would be responding to emergencies, of course, and even trying to ease any sort of panic, have they been able to give any sense of the damage at all, or the efforts that are necessary to deal with the situation at hand?
Yeah, so to start, they really heavily enforced to evacuate. So I think their first priority was to let everybody know, do not stay at all. But for those of us that did stay and just pretty much lost power, they sort of updated us daily with power coverage. They told us essentially that 100% of Florida would be back this coming Thursday, and about 50% would be back by this coming Tuesday. So I would say from my personal knowledge of friends that I know, about 10 people that lost power, only two currently have power and are heavily displaced.
Wow, heavily displaced. In that respect as well, you were just saying that how you spent an hour driving around, you had to wait 30 minutes in a line to get
Mhm.
gas. Is gas currently being delivered to various stations across Florida, or is it a difficulty actually getting it interstate?
Well, from what we were told, they are working on that. We obviously were just recovering from Hurricane Helene the week before that. So, two back-to-back hurricanes has definitely caused a lot of issues, port-wise, incoming-wise. Lots of places that were just sort of getting back on their feet from Hurricane Helene just sort of got flipped upside down again. And that includes just, groceries, gas, little things like that. Our groceries have been low. And gas is definitely a part of that issue. They did tell us again by Thursday that things would sort of be turning back around, but it definitely took us about an hour to find a place for sure. And it was not easy.
Well, as you mentioned, disaster hit twice, back-to-back hurricanes, which is incredible and very, very unfortunate. The weather patterns are becoming more and more extremely difficult to predict. But that being said, have you yourself experienced difficulty in actually attaining food? Have you had difficulties in actually getting any food at all? I would imagine before the hurricane, people would have panicked and would have purchased a lot of food. Then also there was the aftermath of Hurricane Ellen as well. So have you had difficulty in getting food yourself?
Yes, definitely for sure. I waited in line for groceries probably last Sunday for 40 minutes to an hour just waiting. The grocery that's directly near me is a little bit smaller, so it was really hard to navigate. People are trying to get bread, they're trying to get toilet paper. Then all the non-perishables flew off the shelf. It did get a little bit easier by the time we got to Tuesday, but everything did shut down basically by Tuesday around 7 p.m. as we were preparing for the storm. Everything opened up slowly by Friday, and that's when we still saw heavy, heavy shortages of groceries at the store.
Mhm. In respect to response efforts, though, to try and alleviate those situations, what have they been like? I read that Governor Ron DeSantis has opened up free fuel areas where families get 10 gallons of fuel free of charge. Apart from that, though, in terms of emergency response and emergency supplies, what has that been like?
Since my area hasn't been heavily impacted, I am not super aware of what that looks like. Since I do live near the hospital, there's definitely been helicopters flying everywhere. Honestly, most of us are relying on Instagram to sort of let us know what things look like. We're using those images to sort of like navigate places of business. For following Tampa General Hospital, they sort of like let us know what it does look like. In terms of direct, emergency responders, they've just sort of been, staying kind of like consistent with going everywhere. If that makes sense.
Now, what about existing safety threats? Are there still, that you're aware of, are there still instances of rising rivers or flood runoff causing a lot of difficulty still and even safety issues?
As far as I'm concerned, yes, lots of people are definitely still struggling. We have a lot of debris just sort of like hanging everywhere. There are entire trees completely fallen over. Um, we were told that they would be doing, debris pickup. I haven't really seen much debris pickup except by local residents, but obviously there's a lot of ground to cover. But there's definitely an effort to sort of get things back on track, and hopefully they stay that way before there's another natural disaster.
Exactly what were they, just to get a better understanding? And actually, it should have been one of my very first questions, but now that you've spoken to where you are versus where the hurricane impacted directly, what are the primary areas of impact from Hurricane Milton?
So St. Petersburg, Florida, definitely. My area actually was in an evacuation zone, which is downtown Tampa and Channelside. But most of us that are residents there decided to stay, given that it is a little bit of a like a high-rise area building, and we typically haven't been impacted. But for places that were impacted, sort of like Siesta Key, lots of beachfront heavy areas. My direct location is about 30 minutes away from the beach, but most of my friends that do live near the water um, do not live there anymore. They completely had to tear down their house. Their floor is completely ruined. I have a friend who is currently, without a place to live at the moment. I have a few friends who are currently without a place at the moment. If they lived in an apartment building, their ceiling was leaking through. So it's just been definitely a rough thing all around.
Are there public shelters that are available and open for mass occupancy, given the fact that many people don't have a place to go?
Yes, we were informed that you can contact a certain number and they'll provide you with hotel lodgings. They're also giving about $1,200 to people who lost power. We did have free city parking as well that was available. So there are efforts that have been around. Typically in downtown Tampa, you do have to pay to park in any garage and on the street. So lots of people were offered an entire week of free parking. I know a friend who recently was put up in a hotel by the city of Tampa. But for some of those efforts, it takes a while to get things going. Like the $1,200 that was being offered, you had to put in a request. That hasn't been processed as yet. So even though there are efforts being put in place, things like that don't just happen overnight. And if people aren't able to work on an hourly wage, it's been really hard sort of not being able to work for the past week and potentially into this coming week here.
So I would assume, given what you said this morning, that a lot of businesses are still closed. They cannot open, not only because of the power supply, but also because of supply for stocks.
Yes, definitely. If you just drive down our main road here in Tampa on West Kennedy, you'll just see it's completely dark after 6 o'clock. It gets a little darker here closer to like 6:37, especially when it gets closer to the winter time. But you'll just notice that it's completely dark everywhere, or you'll hear the sound of a super loud generator trying to push through power. But if that gives you light, then it typically doesn't give you any AC just because, both of those pulling too much power can't sustain at once. But you'll just definitely see it's just darkness all around. None of the street lights are working. We're being told to treat any street lights that aren't working as a four-way stop. But you will just notice you're hearing tons of honking because it's definitely a little bit of a scary situation once it gets dark.
Of course, that's a security situation as well. You really got to look after yourself in instances like that. So you got to take all cautions necessary. But in that respect as well, Ms. Gibson, what do you think it's going to take for Florida and Floridians to bounce back from this situation, back-to-back hurricanes, with the severe tools on each hurricane's path? What is it going to take for Florida to respond to this? How much is it going to take?
That's a good question. How much? I'm not sure, but we definitely need a lot of aid. I know that people are really pushing to start talking about that in a widespread content, especially waterfront areas like this that are, prone to suffering from back-to-back hurricanes. I've lived in Tampa for about 10 years now, and I went to college here. And since I've gone to college here, I've dealt with the hurricane practically every single year since then. And it's almost the same thing that happens every time. So we really do need to ask ourselves, what are we really doing to help prepare? They sort of aren't able to let us know until a day or two before, which then causes mass panic. People start buying things in bulk. They're not leaving resources for other people who weren't privy to that knowledge before. Some people don't have the funds and resources to evacuate. So, if you aren't in a financial situation where you can, drive to another state to seek refuge and you're sort of left and trapped here to fight for yourself and fight for your family or fight for your pet, what does that continuously look like as we do navigate another potential hurricane that's going to happen next year, that's going to happen the year after that? We're even being told that there is another hurricane that could potentially be coming again next week. Is we're just going to keep going through the same cycle over and over and over?
Well, actually, in that regard, given that you have been there for 10 years, almost every year, Florida experiences a hurricane. Have you guys been able to learn anything from past experiences, even within the last 10 years? Have you seen any sort of improvements to the responses, whether it be proactive or reactive? Do you think that Florida really has been able to deal with itself following these impacts?
Really, no. I would probably say, like I said, living here for 10 years, I get notified through a city page probably 2 days before, then we're sort of told in mass panic way to evacuate, to prepare, non-perishables. But it's the same thing. It's even reminiscent of the pandemic, kind of just, we're told a little bit right before everything's about to shut down, you have to get everything now, you have to get everything now. What if I'm at work? What if I can't get everything right now? I'm left to fight for whatever scraps are left at 5 p.m. while everyone else who is able to, work remotely, have a little bit more freedom, gets to take everything first. And that's sort of been the pattern that I've noticed from living here over these years. And I would say that nothing has changed. And I would say hopefully after this hurricane, things will be different since we did suffer two back to back. But I digress because I feel like, you know, we haven't really picked up that there needs to be a more serious effort to help those that don't have the resources to jump in the gun when everybody else can.
And usually speaking, in dealing with the destruction that Florida experiences from the passing of a hurricane, is it usually quick, the response time? Is it usually quick, the efforts to get back into states of normalcy?
Yeah, definitely. I would say even with Helene, I was at work on Monday. Right now, work is pending just because power outage was that serious. Like we were told, lots of people just got power yesterday. I have a friend who does not have power at all. People don't have homes. They don't have running water. They don't even have Wi-Fi service to even potentially log on to work at home. So it's just sort of a really bad situation in terms of moving forward all around.
On a different note, it seems as though in other parts of Florida, life continues as normal. I understand that Miami Carnival went ahead as normal.
Yeah, I actually did hear that. Not surprised. Miami is kind of its own utopia of sorts, I would call it. They sort of run by their own rules. They do everything sort of on their own accord. But I mean, the fact that they were able to move forward with Carnival just kind of speaks for itself. They sort of um, do what they do that's best for them. And I would say on a better side that the rest of Florida could take notes. They even put parameters in place just in terms of people partying for spring break because they were fed up with it. And little things like that, they know what they need to do that's best for their city. So lots of other places could take note.
Were there any sense of dissatisfaction or being a bit angry at the fact that Miami, though it's a whole utopia by itself, still pushed ahead with Miami Carnival, though the rest of Florida is still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Eileen and Milton?
I mean, as a trainee, I would have definitely gone if I could. So I don't think many people were that upset, especially sort of like, being in a saddened, downtrodden state. It's a little bit of a pick me up in a moment like this. I just didn't know people were going to get there with no gas if you don't live over there. As for the residents of Miami, I know that people who are out of the culture just don't think it was the time to be had. But if anybody could have gone that wanted to go, they definitely very happy to have been there and just get their mind off things.
Indeed. Well, Ms. Gibson, listen, I'm glad to know that you're okay, and I'm glad to know that, at least things where you are okay. I'm sorry to say about the news of which a lot of your friends would have experienced. As you would have mentioned last night, one of your friends only returned home last night because they got power at about 8 p.m. But this is the story for many Floridians, and we really hope that the reactive measures that are in place, the response, is enough so that Florida can return to a sense of normalcy in the soonest possible manner. But thank you very much, and we will keep in touch to get further updates as for what's taking place. Ms. Gibson, thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All the best to you. Take care. Keep well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Well, Miss Gibson is also reminding us that she's out in Tampa, but she's still very much a Trinity Lagoon with her last comment. She's like, definitely, I was okay with Carnival happening. That's okay. That's absolutely fine. And it's good. There's a positivity, there's a sense of positivity there. But the situation across the most severely impacted parts of Florida from Hurricane Milton continue that situation continues to evolve because we are getting reports, stories coming into us, and that's the river levels are still rising because of the runoff from floodwaters. Rescue operations are still underway. There are still many people. The latest figure I got was 2 million households without power, and of course, emergency medical supplies and food supplies. That's also another issue because of the mass panic buying that would have taken place following the evacuation notice and orders. But we are waiting to see more of what's coming out, and of course, we will reach out to Ms. Gibson again to get a better understanding later on in the week. As mentioned, there's already conversations of the possibility that another hurricane may develop. And with weather patterns, you never know exactly where it's going to impact directly. But of course, that system and other systems are being monitored. Hopefully, it's not 3 in a row for Florida. Let's hope that's not the case. Or for any country, actually, that may have to experience this. 2 in a row is one thing, 3 in a row, devastating to say the very least. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on AM Prime. We will return shortly and we'll get an understanding of other events taking place in Florida. As I mentioned, Miami Carnival took place, I think, this weekend, and the National Carnival Commission actually had a role to play in the event. So we'll get an understanding of what transpired after this. Stay with us.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport.
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's. WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we kind of at a stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, right, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage. And we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show
that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Welcome back to AM Primer, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning. Following my last interview, as we concluded that particular conversation, I mentioned that the Miami Carnival went ahead as scheduled. In fact, this year marked 40 years of Carnival, the anniversary of the Caribbean Carnival celebrations in Miami, which is also the largest in North America. Now, of course, there's several features and several events that showcase Miami Carnival, but the majority, well, the main events actually, from what I understand, kickstarted this weekend. So the National Carnival Commission of Trinidad and Tobago is actually, bringing its unique taste of TNT's Carnival to the world, exporting TNT's Carnival and our culture. The stakeholder meet and greet event during the Miami Carnival that happened this weekend. I'm joined this morning by Commissioner at the NCC, Mr. Darren Marcel. Good morning, Mr. Marcel, and welcome to the program.
A very pleasant morning to you and your viewers.
Well,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. Could you, following all the events that's taken place in Florida within the last week, tell me, how was Miami Carnival this weekend? How were the events? How did everything go?
You're, in my view, quite well. In light of the challenges and the weather and so on, from my observation, we came in on Wednesday, and we are about, the panorama was very successful. They had 6 bands performing, and All Stars was there, made a guest appearance along with our traditional mask characters. That was quite successful. There were lots of parties and activities. We had a very successful meet and greet earlier that afternoon, and that was very well attended and very successful. And then we attended the parade on Sunday, yesterday. And again, from all my observations, it was very successful. Lots of people. I guess, there would be people from Tampa and other places that were affected by the weather who may have planned to come and weren't able to make it because of their circumstances. But generally speaking, it was a very successful event from my observation.
What exactly, though, is the NCC's meet and greet event that was held last week? Exactly what is that supposed to be, or what is that, of course?
This is the second year of us doing it, and what we did is reach out to the diaspora nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, and anybody else who may want to interact with the National Carnival Commission to find out about Carnival, and in this case, Carnival 2025, what is the theme, whatever concerns or questions they have. And our objective was to meet, greet, and share information about Carnival 2025 and invite people to come to Carnival 2025. And last year we did it, and it was quite successful. We saw a lot of new people come to the event, come to Carnival, and actually coming out of last year, we saw new people coming to the meet and greet this year, full of enthusiasm. Of course, I'm sure there were more because of this weather, had their concerns. But we had a successful event. While at the location where we did our meet and greet, there were other events taking place late in the night. So it seems to have had a lot of other activity consistent with the Carnival season. But we got a lot of excellent feedback, and that was the intent. People
What was the feedback? You're describing as successful. What constituted as being successful, and what was some of the feedback that you would have received?
At the meet and greet, we had people come from Labor Day, from New York, who would have visited Miami Carnival. We did not have a meet and greet in New York. And the feedback from them is, the information that is shared about our plans for Carnival 2025, because we also had our stakeholders here in terms of Panchin Begu and Tuco represented by their presidents. And they shared information and spoke to the audience, and so did our chairman, Mr. Vincent Gypsy Peters. So the information that we shared about Carnival 2025, a lot of that people were happy with, the plans for Panchin Begu, plans to NCC's planning and so on. We shared our theme with the audience, no place like home, and those sort of things. So generally speaking, a lot of the information. And then after the formal part, the interaction where people may have had questions and so on. And the feedback was they welcomed the opportunity to interact with NCC, generally speaking, and they were happy to be able to participate and get information. And of course, what we have picked up for the interactions we've done is the feedback helped answer a lot of questions or concerns, and generally speaking, people were happy to want to come to Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago.
So you think that these are efforts, of course, to try and export our culture so that it has some role to play in carnivals abroad. But is it also NCC being able to import some further participation or even more business into Trinidad and Tobago for investments in Carnival, and in this particular case, Carnival 2025? Do you think that is happening?
Well, based on our feedback, we started, since I am on the board of NCC, led by our chairman, Mr. Peters, we started our interactions in 2029 in terms of going out and reaching out and interacting with different communities. And if you listen to what the Minister of Finance said, and we felt the outcomes in 2020, we saw more people coming to Trinidad for Carnival. Up to yesterday, the gentleman who organizes the Orlando Carnival, his comments to us was that he was so happy that we came to Orlando earlier this year, and it spiked additional interest for people coming to Orlando Carnival. And of course, his comments were that there were a number of people who haven't participated in Orlando Carnival and interacted with us, came to Carnival 2020, will be coming to Carnival 2025, and they are showing more interest. So certainly, across the board, there is a greater interest when we go out, and that's the feedback we have been getting.
Apart from information sharing, was there anything else on the part of NCC that they put forward, that they presented as part of that attraction for Transpacific Carnival in 2020?
Yeah, we go out there and we go out with our traditional mask characters. They interact, and there's nothing like that anywhere else in the world. You can see a number of Mokojumbi, but in terms of our Dame Lorena, Peregrinaud, and so on. At our meet and greet, we give them the opportunity to interact. Like in Miami here, our characters were the MCs for our event. So the persons who attended saw the full breadth of what these characters can do. That was impactful. We also put on a little showcase in terms of pictures of winners of Carnival 2024 and give out information about Trinidad's Carnival, about characters. We give out facts and information. And people come to our setup and they ask questions. They take pictures with our characters. And it's a showcase of as best as we can, of what some of the elements of Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. And the feedback we get from that is people get excited, interested, curious, and showing an interest, want to show an interest in coming to Trinidad Carnival.
In that sense, is this the only international event that the NCC has had a stakeholder meet and greet, or are there other events as well of which they have participated or will be participating before Carnival 2025 in Trinidad?
No, actually, this is the final one we're having out of Trinidad. Final, our interaction in terms of going to carnivals outside of Trinidad and Tobago. We are going, this is our final one, and then we go to Tobago. But we've been to Orlando, we've been to Labor Day. We were invited to come to Toronto for the Trinbago Festival, and then Miami. all our interactions so far, we did not have meet and greets in all of them. It didn't afford us the opportunity to do so. But that we get invited to the significant breakfast at the Labor Day, where all the different diasporas are, and we go there and interact as well. So that was Labor Day. In Toronto, there's Trinbago Fest. Our characters were very present. We were involved in the production in terms of a production on the stage with our characters, with the artists and so on, and giving out information as best as possible in every opportunity that we have in terms of flyers and interactions. So, and we see people gravitating to where we set up, asking questions, and really sharing as much information that we can.
What is some of the more common questions that are usually posed to the NCC from stakeholders when it comes to, carnival events in Trinidad and Tobago, and at these stakeholder meeting groups? What is some of the more present questions that are asked?
Most times people talk. One of the common things people raise concerns about is flights from Caribbean Airlines to come to Trinidad and Tobago, basically. That's it, because a lot of people come and they book the existing hotels, and many of them stay by family and friends. But getting to Trinidad and Tobago is their biggest challenge. Yeah, getting flights. And what we've discovered, so people who like coming out to Miami here who may not have thought about it, who would have come to our meet and greet for the first time, we're also flooded by our exhibition where we set up with people coming and taking flyers and information. And the question is, how do we get to Trinidad? Or we tried last year and we couldn't come because of flights. And of course, there's only a limited capacity in terms of Caribbean Airlines. People are now attempting to come through other airlines where they can. But the challenge we pick up most times is the getting to Trinidad and Tobago for Carnival. The curiosity mainly is about the characters and so on, and generally about some events. Many times they come asking us about particular parties that they hear about. Carnival in Trinidad is a big thing to many of them. So they come for specific activities.
Well, it's a big thing for us as well. But have you been able to actually, relay this message to Caribbean Airlines, about the question marks surrounding the availability of flights?
Yeah, I mean, this is not new. Since our first outing, those questions were raised. And, Caribbean Airlines, from our feedback, have done the best they can in terms of what they have available. Last year, for example, I recall last year they put on additional flights out of to Trinidad. They put on additional flights, particularly Miami, that, as far as I'm aware of, and New York. But you can only do what you can. So Caribbean Airlines has their capacity, and now there are people tell me that they're going to come through AA. Some are taking other airlines where they don't have direct flights to Trinidad and Tobago, and but people are trying to find additional airlines that may put up offers, packages that bring them to Trinidad. As a matter of fact, I want to tell you, the cruise ship that came last year, I believe, there are people who have shown an interest in boarding it in, is it Miami or somewhere, to come, because it's a one-stop shop, so they have both access to coming and for accommodation and so on, and entertainment. So I've found that is an option some people have spoken to me about.
Mr. Marcel, what has the NCC learned, if any lessons at all, from the hosting of these international events?
First, I want to tell you that I was very moved by people's nationals who have lived abroad and who haven't come home for a little while. And for one reason or the other, I remember when we first went back out in 22, was it 22 or 23, after the COVID, so many people who haven't come home for years wanted to come and wanted to come for Carnival. People just missing home, the interest people have in our Carnival, the interest people have in Trinidad and Tobago nationals and so on. Generally, the vibes have been, and the feedback has been very positive about Trinidad. First of all, nationals wanting to come back home, and certainly to celebrate Carnival and participate in Carnival in one way or the other. And what I have noticed is one of the outcomes is that many of our citizens whose fraternity, friends, and associates who have never come to Trinidad get an opportunity to come because of the Carnival, and they enjoy being in Trinidad and Tobago and seeing Trinidad and Tobago. Carnival is our biggest tourism product. And it's that gateway to come to look at Trinidad and Tobago, come and experience Trinidad and Tobago. And we've gotten a lot of that from people whose friends who visit to our event, to the events that we attend, pique their interest about Carnival and about Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, I mean, that's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Any word, though, could the NCC, are you in a position to state when the NCC will have its official launch for Carnival 2025? Because
the launch of Carnival is next month.
Excellent. Any particular date has been set?
It escapes me today at this point in time. It's either the 6th or the 9th, but I know that the launch is on next month. It just escapes me right now.
No, I know
I haven't had my coffee as yet.
No, that's fine. Because I know you've been busy since last week. But I know that also you've given us a bit of a sneak peek, a bit of a hint, as per the theme, Welcome Home, for 20.
Yeah, no place like home. No place like home.
No place, yeah.
No place.
My apologies. Welcome Home was it last year? Yeah, or this year? Yeah. So no place like home, indeed.
No place like home.
What a fitting theme, Mr. Marcel. Thank you very much, though, for your time this morning, and thank you, of course, to the NCC for their continued efforts to import business to Tobago and participation in whatever form for Carnival and for Carnival events. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much to you.
Let me just. November the 8th is the launch.
Excellent. Great.
November the 8th is the launch of Carnival at the Queen's Park Savannah.
Excellent. So, well, we'll be in touch. We will be in touch because we, of course, when that happens, I'm sure there are a lot more conversations to be had. So thank you very much, Commissioner. All the very best to you and to the rest of the team.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having me, and all the best. Thank you. Have a great day.
All the best. Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Commissioner Darian Marcel of the NCC out for Miami Carnival. Of course, they're there since last week, Wednesday, where they had the stakeholder meet and greet, and then the events taking place this weekend. I think yesterday was the parade of the bands. So we have an idea also as per Carnival and Tobago official launches on November 8th at the Queen's Park Savannah. The theme for Carnival 2025 is No Place Like Home. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break on AM Prime. We will return shortly. Stay with us.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
FanZone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available. The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport.
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning. We've had a wide-ranging topics of discussion, and we are shifting gears once more, focusing on West Indies cricket. It has been revealed by the director of cricket West Indies, Miles Bascom, one of the directors, Miles Bascom, that Nicholas Pooran, players like Nicholas Pooran, Shea Hope, Brandon King, though they may not play in domestic leagues or the formats such as the 4-day games that we experience in the Caribbean, they are still eligible to be selected to represent West Indies in the test format, the test game. Now, there have been calls for Nicholas Pooran to actually be included in test cricket. And of course, Shea Hope, who in my opinion still is one of the most, if not the most naturally talented batsmen that West Indies currently have to play test cricket. Well, we'll see what's happening there. I'm joined this morning by our cricket commentator and analyst, an individual who some people say I'm very mad to have on so early on a morning, but that's okay. Lester Casimir is with us. Good morning, Lester. Good to see you, my friend.
Hi, morning. Morning to you and your viewers. Morning.
Lester, are you one of those individuals that believe that Nicholas Pooran and players like Shea Hope and Brandon King should be represented in West Indies in the test format?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I have been for the longest while proposing, not just those guys. There have been Lewis, for instance. Lewis was just yesterday. He was a major player for the West Indies. Hetmeyer should be there. Dwayne Bravo suffered because of. I think people need to know how the genesis of this. And you're a very young person, so you probably would not know how this thing started. This thing started, and again, history there, you can read it. But this thing started because of a Trinidadian who owned a brewery, and he was asked to, or he proposed to be a sponsor for the West Indies, and they allowed him to be a sponsor. And part of being a sponsor, he decided that he wanted all of the West Indian players at the time. They were star boys, Desmond Haynes, Gordon Greenidge, Clive Lloyd, Red Richards, all these guys. He wanted them, when they come from West Indies duty, to come and play for Barbados, Trinidad, and the rest of the Caribbean islands. Because what they would have done is go for a 3-month tour, a month and a half tour, and they would be tired. And so they'd probably take a game or two off. And he decided that he wanted the biggest bang for his buck. And in doing so, agreements were made that all players who go off on West Indies duty must come back and play for their territory, their countries, which they found to be unfortunate. The first man to suffer from that was a guy named Desmond Haynes, and that is properly documented. Desmond Haynes suffered, and what is not properly documented is that eventually he did a lawsuit, and he got over $60,000 US. Not a lot of people are aware of that, because it was wrong to decide where I want to play. But what happened subsequent to that is, even though it was wrong, Sandals took over, other persons took over, and they continued the same nonsense. So now Miles Bascom playing man. That's obviously what he's doing. And I hope that at the end of the day, it would be taken out of whatever contract these sponsors are signing with us. We are a maximum of 5-6 million people. Every country, God created it this way, I'm sure. Every country, he sent 15, 18 really good players, in their accepting, of course, because there are 1.4 billion people. And so they have much more than that to choose from. We don't have that cadre of performers to choose from. And yet still, we have decided that we have a catchment area for 2020 and for test cricket. We can't afford that luxury. It's very obvious.
But let me play devil's advocate here. Yes. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but if you have players like Nicholas Pooran, you have the regional setup, right? Yes. You have the regional setup, right? Then you have Cricket West Indies, of course. Shouldn't they go through the system? For example, how much red ball cricket has Nicholas Pooran actually played? How often has he played? When was the last time you remember Nicholas Pooran playing in the 4-day format? Correct me, because I really can't remember.
the point is, though, that when he played, he was a very good player. Let me give you another example. Karen Pollard. When Karen Pollard played white red ball cricket, he was a superstar as a red ball player on the verge to playing Test cricket. But let me just say this to everybody who's listening. Most of these guys, they came from the same background I came from. They were poor. You get an opportunity to make $500,000 in a month, in 2 months, you're gone. Pollard has been one of the greatest proponents of the game. What about Dwayne Bravo? He introduced Pollard to the IPL. These guys realize after time, you have to look after yourself, because listen, I just said what happened with Desmond Haynes. They were prepared to lick up Desmond Haynes, and he took them to court. These people who are in charge, they don't care about you as a player. Let's understand that. When you get injured in the West Indies, they leave you alone. When you get injured for Mumbai Indians or for whomever, they send people down here to look after you. You're being treated properly. When you get injured as an Australian, when you get injured as one of those guys from playing for Indians, they are treated properly. Not so in the West Indies. In fact, when you finish play, you don't even know when you finish play. Brian Lara was the greatest batsman, one of the greatest batsmen we ever produced. He didn't even know when he was summarily dismissed. Go about your business. They don't care about you, you know. You have to care about you. You have to mind your children. And if you are unable to do that, then devil take the hindmost. So Bravo and Pollard and Russell Puran, who is learning from these guys, they have to make sure and take care of themselves.
I understand that. I recognize that. Now, I will tell you, people like players like Brandon King, like Shehu, I could see them playing in the red ball formats. I can, you know. But come back to. By the way,
What about Lewis? What about Lewis as well?
With respect to Lewis, I think that's a hit or miss. But players like Puran, and I can't believe that you just said Lester Cassamy said Hetmeyer to play Test cricket.
Yes, he played in New Zealand and they knocked him out cold. Don't forget that. He played Test cricket not so long ago. So it's not that it's impossible. Hetmeyer would have been in the 15 to tour. He might not necessarily play, but we certainly would not have what we have representing us now. We certainly would not have been continuing with Brathwaite as the captain, which is abysmal. His performance is horrible, but we have him because he's
Brathwaite the player or Brathwaite the captain, just to clarify.
Brathwaite the captain, the captain who has been failing consistently. We just had a test series, he failed miserably, but we have him there as the captain, and not only that he's the captain, he has been given 2 contracts, 2 years in a contract. So let's understand that we are serenading mediocrity, you know, because our best players are playing outside of the Caribbean because they have to take care of their families. That's a fact. And of course, they're human beings. They're going to get tired, so they take a rest. But if I were Miles Bascom, I will do exactly what he has done and try to bring in. If that were the case, then you would have had younger Bravo still there, possibly. Russell would have represented the West Indies really, really well over time, because Russell is definitely one of the best talent we have produced in the Caribbean. But we have not been able to use these guys. Why? Because foreigners saw a greater value to them than we have. It's as simple as that.
So you think Cricket West Indies itself has, to a certain extent, destroyed West Indies cricket development?
Well, let's hold on for a second. I talk about a Trinidadian who owned the Caribbean. They allowed him to control West Indies cricket. I talk about Sandals. They allowed Sandals to control West Indies cricket. Please remember that. Because of the dollar, the same dollar that they were trying to prevent Bravo and all the others from making. Because they want the best bang for their buck. And the best bang for their buck was that all West Indians must make themselves available every time they come back from a tour of duty or at any time they call. Now, that happened with Westfall and Charlie Griffith and Gary Sobers. And at the end of the day, these guys are poor, very poor in most instances. And a lot of them who have died, they died very poor. This is not going to happen now. And we're leaving out Akil Hossain, eh? This is not going to happen now with our guys, unless, of course, they throw away their money or they waste it. So I'm saying to you, we should be very happy that we have young guys who are enterprising, and most of them is now finished. Simmons. Simmons and these guys are filthy rich. Thank God they have businesses all over the place because they have seen the opportunity, grasped it, and ran with it. Other than that, the West Indies Cricket Board would not have been able to help them. They can't help them because they themselves don't have any money.
So then what do you think is going to make players like Nicholas Puran, players like Brandon King, players like Hetmeyer, you know, what do you think is going to make them attracted to representing the West Indies in the test format? You have some of these players that, you remember, for personal reasons, choose not to participate in West Indies cricket. You have players like Russell and Puran, even Hetmeyer as we speak, not in the T20 squad that is currently in Sri Lanka for personal reasons. They just came off of a grueling CPL, one could argue, but they have players in the CPL who participate in the CPL currently in the squad playing there as well. So what's going to make them, these players that we speak of, attracted to representing the West Indies in the test format?
PRIDE, pride. Pride of country. These guys are suffering.
Lester, does that really exist?
Let me tell you. In an older time, it was just pride. Ice, green, and gold. The Richards out there, it was pride. Now, and the Richards has been one of the fortunate ones. He's made a lot of money, a lot of money. But many persons below them have not made money. They did not make any money. In fact, a lot of them are destitute. That's the truth. And they're finding out, trying to find a way to earn a living, trying to find a way, and they're in their 60s and in their 70s. That can't work. So we have to appeal to those guys. Like Puran is now a very rich man, let's assume, and they're playing and interacting with the Indians and the Australians, and they're hearing about Test cricket and Test cricket. These guys want to play Test cricket. I am of the view that Pollard really wanted to play Test cricket, having been out there in India and all over. He played in the 50-50, and they did, and because of the stands that West Indies took, they can't play because they didn't play 40 games, but they would have liked to have this new intervention be present so that they could play Test cricket. But do not box me in where I cannot play because I didn't play the 40 games, because I don't have the time to play 40 games. And if you box me into play it, well then I can't play. I wouldn't play because in an hour and a half, I am making $100,000 US. Listen, Hetmeyer probably faced less than 100 balls in the whole month and a half in the CPL, and he made over $500,000. Understand what's going on. So less than 100 balls, you know, and in a test match, you must make more than face more than 100 balls for anybody to recognize you. You walk away with $500,000 US. And you put that, you transfer that, you convert that into Guyanese, you need 6 trucks to carry
that. But okay, so let me add to your argument. Hope has a ODI average of about 50, just above 50. Puran has the second best with an average of just over 39. I think it's 39.66 or something to that effect, right? So in the ODI format, in the longer format, I see them as being ODI players. How do you now integrate them into a test squad? You're just going to throw them into the pit of the fire, or do you think that they need to go through at least one domestic, one regional tournament before we see them in the actual squad?
I have known you for a little while, and this is the best question I think you have asked. And it's a very difficult question. It's a very, very difficult question, except that I was a VUPA. I could have been easily enrolled in a T20. I could have been easily enrolled in a 50-50. But when pressure is on, I can easily as well adapt that 3-day game. Listen, if you have talent, you have talent. Yeah? Let me share something with you so you understand. A boat leaves the Caribbean to go to Australia. Long time. It used to take 3 months. I'm telling you that only because Wes Hall told me this. 3 months. You know what they're doing for those 3 months? Absolutely nothing. But hoping you don't die on the passage from England. You don't die from England to Australia, right? Hoping you don't die. So these guys They played in the IPL for a month and a half. That is half of the period of traveling to go to Australia. Listen, these guys are very talented. Let me share something with you so you understand. If Viv Richards was in this time, we would have said the same thing because he cannot adjust the test cricket. Adjust what? It's to beat bad bowling and even beat good bowling and bowlers. Pollard, when Pollard was playing, Pollard scored 176 against Barbados in a 4-day game in almost no time. That's before T20 started. If you can bat, you can bat. You can adjust. You see that same name that you called from Barbados?
Who's that? Hope?
Shai Hope. Shai Hope moved from being a dull test player, a dull 50 player, to now he's emerging now as one of the best T20 players. Why? Because he is talented. He wants to. And this is the greatest word in the whole dictionary, desire. Once you want something real bad, and you have the talent for it, you can want it real bad, you have no talent, go bother. Shai Hope and Darren Bravo were the two best batsmen we had in the Caribbean. The two. Well, they have summarily dealt with Dwayne Bravo, which is rather unfortunate. But we have Shai Hope, who is showing that he is a real talent. Forget yesterday, because he will come good. Shai Hope is a monster as a batsman because he's able to move from there are 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. And we all knew he was going to fail in level 1, which is the T20. And he's a major success because he has adjusted. You know what? The world has changed because the dinosaur did not change. It did not adjust its environment. Shai Hope has adjusted its environment.
Well, you're speaking about the evolution of cricket itself now, because the argument you're pushing forward there with the different levels is Evan Lewis as well.
Exactly.
Evan Lewis has done exceptionally well in T20 cricket. He's done fairly well in ODI format. So the argument.
That's my argument exactly. You are going to adjust because before he played all of those cricket, he was playing for South. He was playing for Trinidad and the 4-day games. I'm saying to you, it's just a matter of adjusting. And if you can't adjust, you die. And so we would have seen that he can't adjust. I saw Puran in a 50-over game in Vancouver. Queen's Park was in a real trouble. This man just buckled down. And that day was the day that I said this guy was ready for the world. Am I correct? Yes. Because he adjusted. Queen's Park was in real trouble. He adjusted. And as a result of that, you see what come to the fore. Give these guys a chance. You imagine Russell, Bravo. We had a force, we had a real force in a country or in a place of 6 million, and I'm saying 6 million because less than 6. New Zealand, the problem we have in the Caribbean, to my mind, is administration. We have always had administrative problems, always. We don't know how to manage. Gary Sobers was dealt with, go about your business. Everybody, go about your business. We have no respect for the players. Whereas the other countries, they revere their players and they have respect for their players. We as a nation, we as a people, we respect you when you're there, we love you when you're there, we put you up, and then after a while, we just summarily dismiss you. If we did that to Mr. Brian Lara, because Brian Lara and I, we were in communication. It's the strangest sort of communication we were under, what we were having, where he started to tell me he was going to score 250 and he was going to score 200. I have been trying my best to score 100 for years. I mean, again, in between. He's telling me he's scoring 250. And you know what he did? Every time the man went out, he scored 200 and 250. This is mad people behavior. So I'm saying to you, we had a genius. And what we did in the genius, he didn't even know when we dropped him. And who dropped him? The same man, same person who was treated poorly, he comes back around Gordon Greenwich. And he just dismissed him because that's the treatment he got. And what's happening now? Desmond Haynes. He got a certain kind of treatment. He has been treating Bravo the same way. And so we have a perpetual behavioral pattern that is continuing. We have to stop it. If we don't, then Bravo might turn out to be a selector. He will then treat people poorly. And this is what we have going on. Our administrators are really the problem. We have a lot of talent, but these guys, I am happy that they're all... Lewis frustrates me, to be honest with you. Lewis frustrates me because Lewis' talent is unbelievable. but he's almost always injured. And or when he's not injured, he's not playing. And I am glad they have brought him back, because what we had for the World Cup that replaced him, that really didn't replace him, was Johnson Charles, and Johnson Charles was not up to the game. Was not up to it.
Well, so there's always question marks surrounding the fitness of many of our players. Same thing with Johnson Charles. Same thing with Roston Chase. Roston Chase passing a fitness test. Evan Lewis always being unfit. So yeah, no, there's always a question mark surrounding that.
Johnson Charles, but Chase passing a fitness test. He has to pass being able to pass a fitness test. He's maga, and he can't pass a fitness test. You tell me, you explain that. But on the field, he's performing better than most of those who have been passing fitness tests.
He's performing excellent with bat and ball.
So leave him alone. I don't understand how we can't, but again, you have all different body types, and so he's struggling to pass a fitness test. When you look at him, he looks the epitome of fitness, but he's not. He's not.
No, he's doing well though. He's doing very, very well actually. He's really climbed in the last few years. Lester, what do you think of the current depth of our West Indies Test squad? Do you think that Cricket West Indies has recognized that? Hold on, we celebrated when we won that test in Australia. I think it was earlier this year, right? With Shamar Joseph and his excellent form with the ball. We celebrated. Yes. But do you think that Cricket West Indies is recognizing, hold on, it seems as though we don't have the talent, or we're not churning out the talent domestically as we were previously? We need to start digging deeper. And that is why Mans Bascom has come out and made this statement.
We have been churning out the talent. We have not been able to use the talent. India, Australia, New Zealand, all of the smarter countries, they are able to use 100% of their players. South Africa have been able to use 100%. You know why? Because other than New Zealand, everybody else is one country, one governance. In the Caribbean, we have 640 different governors. And so as a result of that, everybody putting up their hand, I want my man for my country and my country. And I have even seen men pick guys who have retired in the Caribbean on a test team. I'm simply saying to you that we cannot afford to continue like this with less than 6 million people. We can't. Our talent is there. The talent is there. A few years ago, I was complaining bitterly. We cannot get 20 wickets. Well, I'll tell you this. We have been getting 20 wickets. You know what we're not getting now? The runs to support the 20 wickets. So we're going to get a combination eventually. We will get a combination eventually. And when we do, we will not win a test match in Australia. We will win test series. But we will not win a test series, a series of test series, is because who is going to captain the team? Not somebody who should not be on the team. And I go back again to Craig Brathwaite. Craig Brathwaite should be probably in the 15. But if Evan Lewis is playing and Shaihu playing, he cannot make a 11. He cannot make a proper West Indies 11. Cannot. And if he does, it's only because one of those guys injured.
Indeed, Lester. And that's the time that we have for this particular conversation. But I want to thank you for joining us, my friend, because we have it was a bit more wanted to get into. I see that Darren Sammy, as coach for St. Lucia Kings, he has excelled. So let's see if he can translate that to the T20 team for West Indies. I see the smile on your face. I don't know if you have anything to say on that.
I have always been fighting up against Sammy for whatever reason. But I've always been able to accept the fact that Sammy won 2 World Cups. Sammy just won the CPL. I just felt that they pushed Sammy too fast to move from a player into the West Indies captain. I've always been concerned about this thing, I just mentioned it. Who's running West Indies cricket now? The people from the small islands. And so Sammy get a Kopioko and he's going forward. Whether or not Sammy will be able to do what we hope he can do, that's another story. But I can tell you that Sammy is a winner. And Sammy's heart is in the right place. That does not make you a good coach. What it does, though, it says to me that Sammy's probably a good man manager, which is one of the components you need to really be a success. Once you can get the guys to respect him, we would move forward because the talent is there. I am very disappointed in how we view cricket in the Caribbean. We view cricket as T20 first and Test cricket. I think we need to change that around, benefit from the T20, but the real essence of a country, and we use the Caribbean as a country, is how you perform at test level. How you perform at test level. And we're missing the boat.
Indeed, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. With Sammy, I mean, quickly throw one more at you. Yes. Dwayne Bravo has retired from cricket. Our colleague Andrew Batiste believes that Dwayne Bravo has a role to play in coaching given his experience and his talent. He's not going to get into West Indies coaching anytime soon because it seems as though Sammy does not want anything to do with Bravo or Pollard as part of the coaching lineup because Sammy might be outshunned. What do you think about Dwayne Bravo's future in terms of coaching for Trinidad and Tobago and, by extension, West Indies cricket?
Well, I have news for your listeners and your viewers. I have my view not important. Tell you what, Mumbai Indians, they have selected him as a coach. All over the world, while he was a player, they have asked him, please pull back on your plane. They have decided that this man is of value to them. But we in the Caribbean, we are special. We are not necessarily going to recognize our own for what it is. Now, these guys are really, really, especially Bravo. Bravo is three-dimensional. And if you get annoyed on any day, you could add him. He was a captain, and so you can add value as well. But Bravo is batting, bowling, and fielding. He was one of the best fieldsmen West Indies ever produced. He was certainly one of the best. He is one of the best bowlers West Indies ever produced for T20. He's the #1 wicket taker in the world. And as a batsman, if you're not in trouble, well, he might hit some ball. If you're in trouble, he will take you out of trouble. So you talk about character. This is a man of serious character. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, but he's a human being. He has other things that he probably would be involved in. I don't know the man enough. But I'm saying, what you know is that this guy would be exemplary. He would be someone who you could take your children to 18, 19 and expose them to him, and they will come back better for interacting with him. This is he is one of the guys in particular. And by the way, they talk about Pollard, ditto, Ditto with Pollard. But if I was Sammy, I would not pick them as well. I would not pick them. You need to ask me why.
I want to ask you why. You saw your face. I want to ask you why. Why?
Yeah, because I would be fired. I get fired. Which doesn't make sense. But what it will do is, of course, it will enhance. I just jokingly said that. It will enhance Sammy's reputation because all along he would get really good advice. But you have to remember this. These guys were better players than Sammy when they played. They were better players than Sammy. And so Sammy, being a Caribbean man, might be thin-skinned. No, let me not say it. But being a Caribbean, he might be thin-skinned, and he will not want to be, for people to say that it's only because Bravo there. So he would probably go it alone and lose, or go it alone and win. This is just my view, and my view is almost always skewed against Sammy Kaina.
Lester, my friend, thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning. It's always a pleasure. It's good to have you on. And I always look forward to the next conversation, my friend.
I was disturbed actually when somebody thought it was too early in the morning to have me. But I thought I must have a good morning.
Listen, the way I see yourself, Andrew, and Arthur going sometimes, you know, I probably have to add Arthur to this conversation.
And that's the point I made. You have to adjust the T20. You have to adjust the 50-50 and Test cricket. When I'm the Andre and Arthur is a Stuba Canal. Here is talking to fella.
Lester, keep well, my friend. Always good seeing you and talking to you.
Yeah, man. Be good.
All the best. Okay. Lester Casimir joining me on AM Prime this morning. Of course, you would see his face on the Face of Sport with Andre Errol Batiste. And Arthur Hutton joins that conversation as well. I'll tell you one thing, boy. When I see those three in studio, I know it's always going to be a damn good show. So I'm glad to have Lester on the program this morning, and I'm glad to get his commentary. He might say his thoughts and opinions don't matter, but they do very much matter, and that's why he's always on AM Prime to speak about West Indies cricket. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Now, just a quick correction. We got a message off air from Commissioner Marcel of the NCC with a quick correction. It's not November 8th that is the launch of Carnival. It is November 9th that Carnival is taking place. The 9th of November will be the official launch of Trinidad and Tobago Carnival by the NCC at the Queen's Park, Savannah. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us. Thanks very much to all my guests for joining us on the program this morning, as always, for their time. And to my team at WESN, Ryan Gomez-Burke has been substituted this morning. It seems as though he had a rough night, whatever that might be. But of course, to Josh Alexander, good morning to you, sir. We could hear you in the background. That's good. Good morning to you, my friend. He has been replaced. He's replacing Ryan Gomez-Burke this morning, and Mildwood has shifted his position as well. So thanks to my team, and of course Naomi McNish. She was supposed to join us this morning. She sends her apologies. It seems as though she got a bit caught up as well with whatever happened. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us at WESN. We're all a happy family here, and we are glad that the product that we give to you, you appreciate, because we get a lot of commentary, we get a lot of feedback, and thank you very much for that indeed. Your support means a lot. So I'm Keaton Shaw. Today is a good day to have a good day. Let's try and make it a good one. Let's try and make Trinidad and Tobago just a bit more sweet. We'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia that's responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe he's protecting certain individuals.